be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. Do the same at the Grizzly Gentleman, same promo code, 10% off at checkout. Both of these are fantastic deals, and they help support the show. What is up, Planeswalkers? Theurix6 with a bit of a different video today. And you might notice that this is technically an arena video, but it's going up on the Six and Stuff channel. That is because this isn't really about a deck, it's also not about gameplay, so I didn't want to kind of like muddy up my main channel. And this is a bit more of a negative thing than I would prefer to have on the main channel as well. This video is going to be about some of the cosmetic options that I think Wizards should be doing that they just aren't. I am a huge proponent for really having the drive of online card games being cosmetics. I think that free-to-play model is the best one. And I do think that essentially every other game is doing it way better than Magic. And a matter of fact, I think that generally speaking, Wizards would be making substantially more money if they focused on better cosmetics, and they could even lower the pack price, right? So right now the packs are like 1,000 gold. They could lower this to 900 and have a similar gem decrease. But if you're giving so many options for cosmetics that people are going to want to consistently buy, especially considering the frequency with which you release new sets and new characters, you should be making money hand over fist. Now, this is going to be a different format or methodology of recording videos. I'm going to really utilize the pause recording feature on OBS, which is what I use to record, in order to show various different scenes and showcase them without needing to use editing software, because I hate editing and I refuse to do it. So, we're going to start off with something relatively simple. Okay, so here, the first thing that I want to talk about is the game boards. And I'm actually very happy that Ixalan is the first one that we go to. So, in my opinion, the game boards look okay. And when I say they look okay, I mean, like, they feel like they are portraying what Wizards wanted them to portray. And some things, especially the Ixalan board, have markings on the battlefield that look reasonable, right? However, there are things that are lower res that just look weird, and that little lizard is one of the things that I'm talking about. These vines as well, they don't feel organic, they don't feel like they're in the scene. And then these flowers, they look like pieces of paper. And in my opinion, one of Magic the Gathering's greatest assets is its wonderful art, its fantastic art team, and of course the fantastic artists who are producing art for Magic. Now obviously you can't one-to-one have like the backgrounds be like Magic the Gathering lands, right? That's not necessarily going to like translate properly, things are going to look a bit odd. But what I am saying is that it feels like the backgrounds are disparate from the actual card game being played, right? This feels like I guess a more cartoony background than is kind of shown in the art, right? Magic the Gathering art is, generally speaking, polished, and it has a feel about it, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can look at a Hearthstone card, you'll know it's a Hearthstone card. Same with Magic the Gathering, I don't know, I said Magic, but same with like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Legends of Runeterra, things like that. Generally speaking, you can look at the art of a card and more or less tell what game it's from because of the style, the cohesive style. Obviously, Magic has been around for a very long time, so the art style changes, and of course, set to set, there are different main themes that are shown in the art. However, it does feel, to me at least, that there's a disconnect between the art style of the board and the art style of the cards themselves. And what I would like to see is Wizards try and modify, and of course I think this is one of the ones that are least likely to happen, but I would like to see Wizards try and modify these boards, these backgrounds, to being a little bit more high resolution and feeling less cartoony and like more realistic. And now obviously that's going to come with some potential issues when it comes to things like mobile or what's the word I'm looking for? Even just general computer performance. But here's the thing. This game's not on mobile yet. Which boggles my mind, but we'll get to that in a second. But even then, That's the purpose of having gameplay, like graphics resolution options, right? You can remove things, right? These little leaves flickering around, this very awfully low res bird, they don't feel right in this game to me. And of course that's my personal opinion. And of course different boards have different things, different styles. For what it's worth, I think that this Ascanta, whatever you want to call it, this little thing on the ground here, I think that works really well, and I do think it feels magic-y enough. But once you start to get over to these side elements and things where they're three-dimensional, they look worse. And that's not to be too negative or to attack the art design team that put this together. However, I think that the boards are the first area that Wizards can use to make a lot of money. And what do I mean by that? Well, if we take a look at a different game, you'll see what I mean. So these are the boards in Legends of Runeterra. Legends of Runeterra makes money with these boards. You can buy them from the store. And you get to choose your boards. Not only do you get to choose the boards that you want to see, you get to choose the board for each of your decks, right? If we go here, you'll see that there are basic boards, which cost less. And then for events, they have more boards. And then even for certain characters, they have character-specific boards. You'll notice, though, that these boards, you'll see that the top screen is something completely different. I recognize that's not exactly something that Magic can do. But there are a couple things that I want to talk about here for Magic. You might notice that Runeterra's board, relatively cartoony, right? But that makes sense when you look at it in terms of the actual style, the overall card style. Even the card backs reflect this. When you go and look at the actual cards, you see that it has a more vibrant, animated style, right? So I think that coming back to boards, I think that this style makes a lot more sense here than the similar style, and frankly it is similar, that Magic has compared to its card style. So what are the main points that I want to make about Wizards and their game boards? I believe it's the case, and it could have changed, but since I last checked, when you're battling someone, you don't see the same board that they do, right? So in my game with Sparky right now, I'm on the Ixalan board, but theoretically Sparky is on the Guilds of Ravnica board, or the War of the Spark board, right? If that is still the case, there is essentially no reason to not allow players to tag their own board, or at the very least, tag a number of boards that the game will cycle through for them. Further, you could make it so that you can tag boards for each of your decks, right? I'm playing Nicobolus. If I'm playing this Nicobolus deck, I'm going to prefer to use either the War Spark version, although frankly, you don't really want to celebrate a board where you lost. But I would be using the Amonkhet board, because it thematically makes a ton of sense with that board. If someone's playing Merfolk or dinosaurs, they might want to use the Ixalan board. Same as the Lochthwain. You're playing a deck that runs a lot of the cards from Eldraine. You might want to use the Lochthwain board. If we get to choose our own boards, this becomes now, instead of just being a piece of the backdrop of the game, it becomes something that we get to choose and customize for ourselves and express ourselves during the deck building or the characterization building process of the game. And then you can add those to the store and say, hey, this is a rare board, this is a mythic board. Right now, I think the only boards are really rares or mythics here. So you could do something like that, where they cost different levels of gems, and you can even make them gems only. You can still have them in for discounts in the featured section or the daily deals or whatever. But you could make them gem only. Like, this is the premium currency only, right? You cannot craft these with this game's versions of wild cards, which are just these, but whatever. But this is like the premium currency, and you can just use it for that. If you're making even just one new board every set, as long as that board looks good, some people are going to buy it. We're going back to Zendikar, the land of lands. If you made like an Eye of Ugin style, or gosh, everyone loves the Cup Island meme, right? If you could represent that type of theme, or like the Hedrons or something, represent that type of theme on that board, I'm sure people would buy it. You could even have the Hedrons be analogous to these flower things, except they would be 3D objects that, as long as you made them like higher resolution or a higher polygon count, look, I'm not a game designer, then it would feel more natural. And like that lizard is distracting to me because it looks like it's just a 2D animated object with like a set path that's just like doing a thing. But if you have a Hedron just bobbing up and down, just bobbing up and down in a semi-natural looking state, you could even have like water here, and you've shown that you can have animation in your boards with the Amonkhet board. That one has some issues apparently for some people, but you can have like running water in a board, right? You can represent Zendikar on a board and still make it look better. I'm not gonna say good, because these don't look bad. I just think they could look better, and they could have a better resemblance to the game pieces that we have. The next thing I want to talk about allows me to stay on this screen here. Right now, my gosh. I disabled emotes. Right now, the emote system is garbage. This isn't a fun emote system. It's just not. Like, sure, you can have potential for BM and whatnot. For what it's worth, it looks good. You know, the UI on it is decent. If this is the UI you want to stick with, it's fine. But it leaves a lot to be desired. And other games, frankly, do it a lot better. Obviously, Hearthstone has the voice-lined emotes. I've not played Hearthstone in a while, but I assume they haven't changed that. If you're playing as Jaina, you can say hello, and you get to hear Jaina say hello. And the way Jaina says hello is going to be different than the way Garrosh says hello, right? Well played, all of those things are going to be different. I haven't played Hearthstone in forever, but like there's like hello traveler, greetings. I think that's Garrosh. But Runeterra has a system that, in my opinion, is even better, because Runeterra is a game about characters, right? This is originally a MOBA. You have champions. I do love me some Nautilus, but you have champions. Like, you care about the characters, generally speaking, in Runeterra. And the emotes reflect this. Instead of saying hello, I can hit you with a little animated sticker of Vlad. And look at how simple that animation is, right? It's literally just two disparate objects, a little Vlad head and torso, a bust, and then him holding a cup. And all the cup is doing is going up and down, as if I'm saying, greetings. This system could be relatively easily applied to Magic. I mean, just look at all these. Obviously, some of them have more objects, more individual objects. Some of them are more complex in how they move. But generally speaking, right, this gives you a lot more expression, right? If someone is like doing some combo and I'm not sure if they're going to whiff or not, instead of just like saying, gosh, I don't even know what you would say in Magic's system. Nice? Hello? Like, I don't know what it would be. Instead, I can pop an Ezreal, an Ez Sweats or whatever it's called, and I can be like, oh gosh, I hope you don't get me. If you fizzle, right, I can give you a good old cheeky wink. If you don't fizzle and you kill me, I give you a sad poro. Right? I can show much more expression with these things. If I'm the one doing the combo and I'm not sure if I can pull it off, I can pop in a Heimer. a Heimer thinks, I'm like, doing a lot of math. I'm doing a lot of math. Instead of saying thinking, I can pop in a Heimer, right? If I get my combo, bang, I win, right? These emotes are so expressive, and this isn't the only game that I've played that has an emote system similar to this. Duelist, may Lord Bolus bless its soul, has since become defunct. But Duelist had a system very similar to this, where you had a ton of emotes, although for what it's worth, you had access to all of the ones you owned at a time. Runeterra does limit you to 6 at a time, but that's fine. You could use any of these emotes. And there were a bunch of like animated emotes. Some were special editions. A lot were based on the heroes that you were using. So you have a lot of expressiveness here. Not only do you have a lot of expressiveness, but you also have a lot of choice. You can customize what you want your emotes to be. Right? I've as Sweat, I got Gotcha, but that's just on this deck. There's also new ones that came out, and you know they really fit different people's personality. For example, right? If I'm looking at different well-played emotes, right? I have the normal well-played. I have Vlad, because you can use that as hello and as well-played. One of the reasons I think Vlad is a top tier. You could be a bit mean, and you could have this as well-played when you win. This is another well-played if you win. I mean, there are a bunch of things. Gotcha if you win. Into my trap, like Undying Rage if you lose, right? There are a lot of things that you can choose, and obviously there's only 6 slots, but in my opinion that's fine, because you have to choose what you want to express yourself with. But it's based on a deck, so this is my basic current thing. But I think are all of my emote systems the same? All of my emo decks might be all of my emo loadouts. No, so this one isn't, and the reason it isn't is because I'm using gosh, what is your name? I'm very sorry. She's my queen. I forgot what her name is. Oh, I feel so bad. But I'm using Spider Lady, so I'm gonna have Spider Lady in here, right? So there's just a great system in place to have really expressive emotes about your characters. And in my opinion, this is also a character-driven game. So I could easily see Magic have similar animations for the characters. Now, obviously, I don't have animations for the Planeswalkers or any legendary creatures. And I'm not going to commission that for a one-off video that's likely not going to get a ton of views. But I do have some images for my character, Hero 6, done by an artist, Ishin. Check him out on Twitter. They're just single images, so they're not animations, but you can kind of see the type of thing that I'm talking about, right? You can have these little things, and you might be wondering what that is. That's like Heimerdinger's thing. That's actually what I modeled. I wanted this to be modeled after. So it's just a bunch of like equation stuff. So this is like thinking, as opposed to just like saying thinking. And then of course this is just confusion. Like if you make a mistake or your opponent makes a mistake, you can have this. And of course you don't have to have these. I'll keep them up for a little bit. You don't have to have these be like character universal. You can do it like Runeterra, where Liliana has like that like kind of an evil laugh. You can have Nicobolus like rubbing his hands like he does in the art of his dragon god art. Well, it's not rubbing his hands, but he's like this. So you could have something like that. You can have a thinking with Jace. You know, you can do a bunch of those things. And if you don't limit it to just Planeswalkers, which for what it's worth, you totally could, you can have something like, let's say Niv Mizzet, right? You have like Niv Mizzet, just like roaring or something, like as he's being reborn. And you know, that they don't necessarily have to mean anything direct or specific, but these are all things that could and should be included. You know, this system is not great. It doesn't have a lot of feeling. It's very generic. And it doesn't incorporate characters, and it also doesn't incorporate ways for wizards to make money. You can offer these emote systems either as individuals or within bundles or both, even where you could have Gatewatch emote bundle, right, where you have all of the members of the Gatewatch have their own individual emote. You could have an Amonkhet bundle that includes like one of each of the 5 gods, right? The 5 main gods. Or you could even do it all 8. You could do the 5 main gods and then the bolus gods, right? You can have a bunch of these emotes that you can sell for just gems. You don't have to necessarily sell them for gold, because here's the thing. They're cosmetics. Like, people are probably going to complain still, but if it's just cosmetics, then you're going to be able to just be like, hey, you don't have to buy these. These aren't going to change anything for you. And you can even do it like Runeterra. Runeterra has a base system. The initial well-played emote was one of the basal emotes. So you can have a system of basal emotes that maybe that's just like literally Jay, Chandra, Gideon, Nissa, and who the hell am I missing? Oh, Liliana. Oops. I was missing the black one. You can have that as your system for the base, and those can be relatively, like, they could even just be a representation of these, right? You could have a high, you could have a good job, a thinking, and oops, and a good game, right? For what it's worth, oops, Chandra, sure, she makes a lot of blunders. It could be her, like, making a fireball that, like, poofs. It's just like this, and like it poofs, like her hair back, and like she has the soot on her face, whatever. Good game could be Liliana. She's just like being rude about it. Thinking, obviously, Jace, and then what's less, Nissa, and yeah, Nissa could be nice. Nissa's just like, oh, you good job, woo, good job. And then hello can obviously be Gideon, just waving, being like, hi there, I'm Gideon Jura, decidedly manly. But you know, you could have things like that, and you could sell them. But you know what? You're not now be saying, but Justin, didn't you just say you want less cartooniness in the game? If we assume that they're going to make the first change, then you wouldn't necessarily want this to be similar to Runeterra, insofar as like having the whole like very cartoony. But you don't necessarily have to make it too cartoony. It would cost more, but you commission actual magic artists. Well, yeah, you just commission magic artists to make multiple frames of the animation. That way it's still like good, like normal magic art. But if you're going to keep this style, especially the pets, which I'm actually not going to talk about this video because they seem to be getting a little bit better at the pets, so we'll have to see if that continues to progress in an upward fashion. But if we don't really see differences in how they make the boards, then I think it's overall going to be fine. Just having like the cartoon emotes. And I would prefer, personally, the cartoony emotes over a board overhaul. You might notice, though, that this board's actually kind of fine. This one does feel a little bit more serious, a little bit more magic. It doesn't have as many like low poly things, so it's possible that the older maps just need to be updated a little bit more to look a little bit better. I mean, obviously, like these little tiny huts are kind of meh, but still, like they're fine for what they do, right? Let's see, and I think that leads us to our last but biggest issue in my, well, it's not last, but it'll be the biggest. What is this sorry excuse for an avatar selection? I don't know, boss or cat? What? That didn't happen. Anyway, the selection for avatars, in my opinion, for a game such as Magic the Gathering that has been through several planes since Arena like went out of beta, this is nothing. This is not nearly enough. For what it's worth, this system is a little bit better than Runeterra's, but for what it's worth, the avatar system in Runeterra, it doesn't need to be robust because the avatar's not really there. It's not really an avatar of the player. But whatever. But still, this is a sad excuse for a selection here. And why am I saying that? Because Magic the Gathering has so many characters that they could and should just use. This is card art. These are crops of card art. Now, obviously, some are going to work a little bit better than others. You'll notice that essentially all of these are head-on, but they arguably don't really have to be. I mean, you know, Fibblethip is kind of awkward in that. This zombie is kind of awkward in that way. Tristani, you know, this one is head on, but these are facing away. But you know, it doesn't have to be directly that. But my biggest issue here is that they could have so many more. War of the Spark was a set centered around the idea that you had 30-something, like 35 or so planeswalkers in the set. You could have put every single one of those planeswalkers as items in the store. You could have released them throughout the lifespan of War of the Spark. You could release them just throughout the first month, the first couple weeks. You could just have them released. You can have bundles come in waves, so you have like a first wave bundle has, you know, this kind of feel for character groupings. The second bundle, this feel, or you could even just do it based on rarity. You have the uncommon bundle, the rare bundle, and the mythic bundle. For what it's worth, I think the mythics only had like 3 or something, but still, you could do that. In addition, Ravnica is based around the guilds. There are, you know, some guild leaders.
We must act now.
And wilds.
But when we have the guild leaders, we don't have the adjoining guild champion. So, for example, we have Vannifar here.
Much to do.
Right. We don't have access to Rolsk or whatever it is. We have Vraska, but we don't have Starev. You know, we have all of these things. And I mean, we have Vraska, but wasn't there? I think there might have been another. Oh yeah, the actual champion, freaking bug girl, Izoni. We don't have Izoni. This all just, it's card art. It's cropped card art. Now you might be saying like, but Justin, it takes a long time to do and implement and all that stuff. I did this in 15 minutes. Obviously, it's not nearly as good. Like it's not going to be nearly as good as what you're seeing on the side over here. However, my favorite avatar still has lines. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but if I bring them in more, just look at, like, there are lines here, there are lines here, there are lines all over here. And you see that a lot when you're entering games, right? So obviously, they don't necessarily care about the entire quality. But at the end of the day, I do not have professional software. I'm not a professional graphic designer. I didn't do a very good job on this. But still, this took me all of maybe 15 minutes. And it's for one of the gods of Theros. Another set that has, like, characters that are the focus. How is it that we don't have avatars for all of the Theros gods? So Heliod and his friends, at least for the first ones, but frankly, there should be all of the gods, like including the ones from OG Theros. You could even choose to have optional skins for the other gods, and you might be saying, well, why would they double up? We have 2 Chandras. We have this Chandra and this Chandra. Right? There is precedent for having multiple of the same character as Planeswalker avatars. There's precedent for it, right? So to say like, oh, it wouldn't make sense to double up, that you could sell these things. People would buy an Afara avatar. People would buy an Atheros avatar, either version, right? But like Heliod, it took me minutes to do. Obviously, it would need to be more polished, and there would be like game implementation and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, spending a little bit of time, or even a lot of time, on making more avatars and allowing us to just buy them is a good thing, because it makes you money. Now, for what it's worth, I do have other versions here. I should do like this. I have these Lenore elves, right? Or whatever the heck this was. This is similar to Tristani, right? I don't remember when I did this, but apparently I cared a lot more about making it look clear. But I mean, I did this. There's no way I spent more than 30 minutes on this. On just essentially just I took the eraser and I just zoomed in and I was just like erase. And I'm using a mouse. I'm not even using like a Wapo or something. So Wacko? A tablet. Shut up. So like it boggles my mind that Wizards is like just choosing not to use the things that they have access to. This one is a lot worse. You can see a lot of extra splotches here. I'm sure this took me all of like 5 minutes because I had to do all of the the War of the Spark Gods. But like this is one of the situations where like this is essentially in profile, but it would still work. Like it'd still be used. You see that there are a bunch where the entities stick like far out. And I mean, in this situation, his horns legit go into the portrait of another character. Like this would still be purchased, right? People would still use these. And the fact that Wizards is like not taking the opportunity to sell these things, and you can make them. You could make them once again like rares and mythics, where you can have like the just characters from sets. So like the Theros gods, those could just be rares, but the planeswalkers from the set. So you have, we have the Elspeth. We have Elspeth here. But, you have Calyx. Was there another Planeswalker? Oh, and Ashiok. Is Ashiok in here? No, of course Ashiok's not in here. Why? So we got Elspeth, but we don't have Calyx or Ashiok. It's card art, dude. It's card art. Obviously, like, especially for ones like this, where you have to, like, go through and, like, get the hairs individually. That's difficult. And for what it's worth, it's possible that like, we already know that Wizards is making mechanical decisions based on Arena's popularity and based on making sure cards work really nicely on Arena. For some artists, especially digital artists, you can let them know, hey, we plan on like using this in Arena if it wouldn't be too much of an issue, or even pay the artists more. Say, hey, can you isolate the character on different layers? For what it's worth, I think that's what artists do mostly, but I don't actually know, so don't take it. I'll take it with a grain of salt. But like, just have them isolate the character from the background, and then bada bing, bada boom, you have this file that you can just move into the game. Additionally, this selection screen could be better. You could have by color, you could have it by name. But there should be sort options here. You could be able to pick favorites, but also you should be able to assign avatars based upon the deck. For what it's worth, this is not something that that Runeterra does either. But as I said, with Runeterra, it doesn't matter as much because the cosmetics that matter are card back, cardboard, or game board, and emotes, all of which you can actually put to specific decks. And of course, not everyone is going to use that feature, right? We have our card backs. We can set as default, right? So I would set this as default, and from time to time, I would use the different avatars. It would also mean that I would be more inclined to use the avatars. If I didn't have to like keep going back in here and modifying the avatar, if I could just assign them to decks, right? I would be more inclined to use them because I like a lot of these avatars. That's why I'm collecting all of them, because I think a lot of them look great. But I'm not going to remember it when I'm going to record a video. I'm not going to always remember, like, hey, I'm playing Angels, I got to get Sarah, or, hey, I'm playing some sort of Looka combo deck, I got to get Looka. So, it could just be better, man. I do want to talk a little bit about pets. Essentially, it's the same thing as the last Avatar gripe. I think that the last two, I think that the selection screen for this should be a lot better. The scroll system is garbage. But also I think that you should be able to apply pets based on deck. This is the best dog, don't at me, it looks like Snoop. So you should be able to do that based on deck. And then there's one more thing that I want to talk about very briefly. And that, of course, is card backs. Now, in general, I think the card backs do a great job. They most of them have really dope animations. Even the ones that don't, they look solid. They look fine. I mean, some of them, for what it's worth, I don't love, but that's fine. I don't need to love all of the card backs, but and you're probably sick of me saying it, there could be more. There are a lot of card backs. Don't get me wrong. There are a ton of card backs, a ton of selection, a ton of variety, not only in the style of the card backs, but also like the subject, right? So we have the guilds, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We have some basic ones based on the colors of mana. We have planeswalker specific ones, some of which are special, like these two. We've got the anime planeswalkers. We have just thematic ones from sets. This is one of my favorites. We have some charity ones, more planeswalkers, blah blah blah. We have some secret lair versions, which are great because they really give you a pop in art. Once again, set thematic specific ones. That's all fantastic. Just throw us like more. For Theros, for example, what did we get for Theros? This was from the secret lair. So from Theros, I think we got this, and these two. But I think that these two were part of the pre-order bundle, which is fine. I think that having pre-order bundle ones is fine. But when you only really have two for a set, especially when, once again, you can have the character art, and for what it's worth, right? Like, it can be just similar to this, right? This is just character, or this is just card art. Like, it doesn't have a special border like the Guy's Cradle one, like the Lightning Bolt one. It's literally just this is card art, right? It's essentially cropped card art. Same with this one. This has like the owl sticking out, but it's whatevs. Let's see, are there any others that are like just the card art? Not a ton, but still, you can have just the card art. Just like have the card art for the Theros gods, including Klothys. It's kind of weird that we don't have access to a Klothys one, and that's it. Like, I mean, these ones are just card art. Okay, not entirely. These have stuff coming out of the border, but still, right, you can just have card art for these. I will say, I do like the fact that you can star one to make it one default. I think that's very valuable. I like that you can just choose different ones for each deck. This is more similar to what I would expect the pet and the avatar loadout to look like. I understand why the avatar one looks like it does, but there's one issue that I have. You have to like be in a deck to look at your card packs. You can't just like go to collection. As far as I'm aware, you can't just like go to collection and look at your card packs, unless I'm just stupid and wrong. But it does not appear that you can just look at the card packs that you have. So it's a little frustrating. Is there anything else that I want to talk about in terms of cosmetics in this game? Technically, yes. And that is the overall look of the game. Better people than me have discussed overall look. But similarly, the client is rather generic. For what it's worth, it's not like Runeterra is super like Runeterra feeling, at least for what it's worth. I haven't actually played League of Legends, but it doesn't necessarily seem like it's super special. But like it doesn't have like kind of generic circles and rectangles and things. Excuse me. Of course, the complete opposite is something like Hearthstone, that has just like every piece is like a function of this like board that you're opening up. So that is cool. It's interesting, but that's my like weakest gripe. I think generally speaking, this is fine. I don't think it matters all that much. I would much rather see a focus on making card collection easier, and making character customization a much higher priority in gaining financial value. And I realize there is actually one more thing I want to talk about. It's the card styles again. You seen this shit? It's bad. It's just bad though. I understand that like there's a nice 3D parallax effect on some of these. Cut them off. Like make these black. It's fine. This looks bad. Like, I'm sure some people like it, but my god, I loathe it. I hate how this looks. I hate the awful like lazy reflection. For some of them, it's not nearly as bad. This one it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Something weird's going on with that Eternal. Yeah, I mean, this dude's situation's weird. But then you have good ones, right? You have ones that are based upon the actual frame treatments in actual booster packs. Bad, good. Bad, good. So I think that honestly, these are things that should be modified. The issue with this is very similar to the board one. I just don't expect Wizards to even care at this point. And I mean that sucks in my opinion, because these, in my opinion, these are lazy garbage. It's lazy garbage, and I'm gonna go to the one that I always talk about because it's one of the most egregious in my opinion. It's this. Look at that. Look at the feathering. I love how it like kind of froze there. Look at all of that feathering. Like it's not good parallax, dude. It's bad. It just looks so much worse when there's all of that, the feathering of the parallax effect. Because you have situations like the triomes, which are just extended art. Like that's kind of all they are. For what it's worth, they're like made to be extended art. But instead of adding this like really weird parallax effect, just have extended art or something. Even if it's like false extended art, where you just kind of zoom in more and you just remove the border. That's better than the bad parallax, man. At least in my opinion. Obviously, some people like this, but what I would like to see is the ability to just turn this off when you're building decks. I do not ever want to use this parallax effect ever. I will never want to use this. For what it's worth, I think there's technically one exception, which is the Theros lands. This is the one exception, and it's just because everything, like, it's messy enough that it's kind of hard to tell the issues, but like on these, it's not hard to see the awful reflections and the terrible feathering. So I would like to be able to essentially disable specific types of styles, right? So there are a bunch of different types of styles, and they can have that be reflected in some way in this, right? Where you can have parallax or whatever you want to call this. Then you can have special frames or whatever, set frames, just the things that are using the special styles. So you have the enchantment frames from Theros, you have the adventure frames, you have whatever this is. Then you can have another one that's just like borderless. This is essentially just borderless promo. The comic book style of the I know I have some of them. Well, I don't know why I said some. I have all of them. But the comic book styles of the there we go, of the Ikoria cards, right? And for what it's worth, this is even just like borderless promo. Like, you can sort them by that and just say, like, I never want to see this in my deck builder. I never want to, especially considering, right, this is the first one. I will always want to use this. This is what is naturally used, and sometimes I might forget that I have this, because this is always the first one. And for what it's worth, if I'm actually going to be disabling, I'll see this. But this is great. This is trash. So yeah, it just bothers me that they like refuse to make these look good. So yeah, it's a bit more of a negative video, but I do hope that you have enjoyed this. Let me know how you feel about the style, this kind of heavy pseudo-edited style where I'm just pausing a ton and switching between scenes. I understand that it's just like nothing but jump cuts, and I'm sure I've started speaking too early. Sometimes I probably started speaking too late and made things look awkward, but I'm just very interested in knowing how this type of thing works, because then it can make me do more things in this vein where I'm talking more in depth about things that I otherwise wouldn't really be able to do. So yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed this weird video. I'll thank my lovely patrons. We got a new one, Allison. Hello, thank you. Fogwin, once again, thanks. If you'd like to join them supporting the show, links in the description. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And of course, until next time, I will be one.